In the run-up to the Final Fantasy VII Remake, I went back and played the original again. Not going to lie, it'd been a while and I needed a refresher before the sparkly new version came out. This game's more than old enough to legally drink now, so how well does it hold up? Full disclosure before we begin, my first Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VIII. I then moved on to Final Fantasy IX, and I actually didn't loop back around to 7 until I was waiting for 10 to come out. That means Final Fantasy VII wasn't my introduction to JRPGs, and I don't remember it having the same impact on me as it had my friends around me at the time. This is a highly revered classic which did a lot for the industry. It's got a respected legacy and status, but I don't have a sense of attachment to it. Even if I did, I wouldn't feel that should prevent me from critiquing it. What I'm saying is, this may not be the endless shower of praise people have come to expect when this game gets talked about. The first thing to strike me both then and now are the graphics. We're looking at the PS4 version here for a few reasons. 1, it's the current release people are most likely to buy and play through. 2, the 3x speed multiplier in this release makes for a much better experience. 3, I think it lifts the curtain on a few of the original's tricks. PS1 era Final Fantasies all featured pre-rendered backgrounds, the idea being you could pack in a ton of detail that just wouldn't be possible with the limited number of polygons a PlayStation could push, while still making it look 3D by having character models walk around on top of it. Throw in some overlapping pre-rendered layers and you've got yourself a fairly convincing illusion. It was smart, innovative, and incredibly effective. Or rather, it was in the 90s on a CRT. Hindsight's a bitch, and Square Enix are probably regretting losing the original assets for these backgrounds. As it stands, the modern re-release features upscaled rips from previous retail versions. It looks like a basic blur or soften filter has then been applied to try and smooth things out for a modern display, but honestly, it's kind of distracting and you lose a ton of detail. Here's a side-by-side comparison I captured from the opening bombing mission. We've got the original PlayStation version running on a PS3 versus the PS4 re-release. Areas that are particularly detailed, like the side of the train or the tiled floors, suffer quite badly. Emphasizing this are the fact that the character models are now rendered in HD. On the PS1, having both the models and backgrounds at a similar resolution helped the two blend together and better sell the illusion, but on PS4 it's immediately obvious you're looking at a mixture of 2D and 3D assets. It's even more noticeable when there's a shift to a cutscene. For certain areas, the map would seamlessly transition from gameplay to a pre-rendered animation, and this once looked quite convincing. I even remember wondering how they were pulling this off in my younger years. Here, there's considerable compression in those scenes, and you can pick out the exact moment it switches. It becomes painfully obvious in scenes where 3D character models are rendered in real time on top of the video footage, such as escaping with the tiny Bronco. My day job is in design, and I've commonly had to explain to clients why I can't take their 300 by 200 pixel logo and just go print it on an A3 banner. Low resolution in, poor quality out. Square Enix didn't have those original backgrounds, so they had to make the best of a bad situation and go with what they had. I get that. Is what I would be saying had fans using consumer-grade technology not made fantastic strides in AI upscaling and released a PC mod that replaces the backgrounds with gorgeous high-resolution renders. If I were in Square Enix's shoes, I'd be finding these people, paying them a lot of money to share their techniques and output, and releasing a patch with these backgrounds and videos. Something I struggled to understand until very recently were the character models. They look very basic, and I'm not sure what's going on with their arms. Could it be linked to inexperience? 3D was a new technology after all. Well, no, all of the main casts and enemies have much more highly detailed models in battle. Could it be a system limitation? Again, no. One of the advantages to using pre-rendered backgrounds is having more polygons available for character models. Instead, I think they were trying to emulate the look of the borderline chippy sprites in the older 2D games. Maybe they were trying to invoke a sense of familiarity for returning fans. The character designs and facial textures have an anime feel to them, and perhaps they thought these models enhanced that. There's certainly a charm to them, we're even getting official figures based on them, but I do feel they clash with the environments and general tone of the story. The tale's quite a serious one. At the start, we're fighting an energy company that's literally sucking the planet dry and killing it. There are some nice parallels to our real lives, where the energy we need for our modern conveniences and entertainment, such as watching this very video, come at a cost we could be ignorant to, or worse, not care about. It's genuinely unfortunate the plot's still so relevant and topical over 2 decades later. You're working with a terrorist organization. Blowing up reactors has civilian casualties, and as the story goes on, more innocent people die as a result of your actions and overall cause. There are arguments it's for the greater good, but you're definitely operating in a morally grey area. That goes out the window a few hours in though. Mild spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Sephiroth, this game's big bad, kills the company's president, and then the focus shifts to tracking down the silver-haired ex-soldier. Eventually, the villain summons a meteor that threatens to wipe out all life on the planet, and it becomes a classic save-the-world plot. I'm oversimplifying and underselling it here. Both the Shinra Power Company and Sephiroth were seeking the Ancients, or Cetra, and their Promised Land. Lots of characters and events are the results of Shinra's experiments with Marco Energy, and the opening sequences are intertwined with later story reveals, but I couldn't shake the feeling the most interesting themes and questions were cast aside without being fully explored. That said, I loved the slow build-up to Sephiroth. He had presence and felt like a genuine threat. I really enjoyed the mystery surrounding Cloud and his memories. Even if one of the key flashback scenes is entirely optional, the reveals we got as he pieced his psyche and memories together were genuinely surprising and well done. On a second playthrough, you can even see the subtle hints and breadcrumbs laid out for you. Another surprise was found in the breakneck pace of the game. I remembered Midgar making up the bulk of that first disc and was shocked to find myself on the world map after only 3 or 4 hours with a long journey ahead of me. Disc 1 really is a whirlwind world tour, visiting all of the key locations, while Disc 2 is very much an Empire Strikes Back second season, before Disc 3 essentially just holds the final boss fight. The other thing that struck me about Disc 2, and which I'd completely forgotten, is that it forces you to use different characters. Here comes one of my biggest gripes with 7. The cast largely fades into the background. I played pretty much the entire game with a core team of Cloud, Barrett, and Tifa. Credit where it's due, Red 13 gets a fantastic story in Cosmo Canyon. It could almost feel like a high-quality filler arc, though. Your buggy just so happens to break down there. You learn all about his past, Red reconciles some long-standing issues, but then it's back in the car, move along. Likewise, Sid gets a few moments, like becoming the party's temporary leader and returning to the rocket for the huge Materia, but again it feels like characters step forward, tell a short tale, and then become window dressing. Heck, Yuffie and Vincent are entirely missable. Kate Sif made so little of an impression that I forgot about him, and am coming back to the script now just to add this one line acknowledging his existence. I lay part of the blame with the Materia system. You equip skills and abilities through weapon and armor slots, and you can even do some outright broken combinations. It's very flexible, customizable, and fun to play around with, but it also means any character can perform any job. Yes, some characters' stats are geared towards certain roles. Barrett's clearly meant to be a tank, but there's nothing stopping you from equipping him with heals and buffs to essentially make him your white mage instead. Each character gets some individuality with their unique limit breaks, looking at Vincent and his transformations here, but for the most part they're just similar big damage finishing moves. The exception to this rule is Aerith, who, and I'm going to get so much hate for this, is kind of useless and annoying. She's tipped so heavily to be a white mage that she doesn't really have any offensive options. Even her limit breaks are heals and buffs for the party. Now that's great when the party's low on HP, but my defenses aren't that bad, and I don't need her assistance every single turn. A lot of the time, she just ends up sat there in the back row, not doing anything, and I kept her out of my party whenever I could. Giving Tifa some cure materia covered my needs just fine, thank you. More spoilers in 3, 2, 1. That also meant I didn't feel a sense of loss when Sephiroth ran her through. If anything, I almost felt relieved. She wasn't a valuable or integral member of my party. She wasn't part of my core team. I was dragging her around and actively annoyed when the game forced her into my squad. I never warmed to her character, to the point I always go out of my way to make sure the Golden Saucer dates with Tifa. Regardless of your setup, I did find the battles to be quite straightforward. Oftentimes, it was just a case of doing as much damage as quickly as possible. Get the ore materia, pop it on your best move or whatever magic the locals seem to be weak to, and mop the floor with everything. The most interesting battle I had came in the form of this twin-headed dragon. One head uses fire magic, while the other uses ice. That means one's weak to fire, while the other's healed by it, and the same's true for ice attacks. If I used Fire All or summoned Ifrit, it'd do massive damage to one head, while restoring the health of the other. It was the one time I had to stop, take stock, and change my approach in order to win. Everything else, except the optional weapon battles, I could brute force and bulldoze my way through, which is a shame. If you're looking to truly test the battle system and push your limits, I'd recommend the Battle Arena at Golden Saucer, which places randomized restrictions on your fights. Despite my complaints, I did really enjoy revisiting this game. It's a great JRPG, and I can see why it made such a fantastic introduction to the genre for so many people. I can fully understand why it's held on a pedestal, but both back in 2001 and today, with the benefit of having experienced games that came after it both times, I felt a little underwhelmed, like the game couldn't live up to the hype and praise. I do recommend playing this, not only as an important part of gaming history, but as a damn good time in its own right, so long as you temper your expectations going in. This set out the blueprint and foundations that a lot of games would later follow and build upon, so what was revolutionary and amazing then is fairly standard and routine now. I'd also say the modern port is the way to go for the convenience it throws in. That 3x speed modifier is a lifesaver when certain summon animations are playing for the 50th time, or you're just grinding to get that next level up, rare item drop, or limit break. That wraps my thoughts and this video. Thanks for hearing me out, even if some of my opinions may have angered a few of you. I'm intrigued to see what the remake does. I've already got some thoughts in both the pro and con camps for the demo they released, but maybe that's another video for another time. If you like what you see, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do the bell thing, all of that nonsense, but most importantly, share the video with a friend if you think they'll get a kick out of it.